Look, it's that squinting guy, Mitch Hill. Show number 83 of The Last Angry DJ. Mitchell K.C. Hill, as it says there. We call that a lower third, in case you're wondering, because it's on the lower third of the screen. That's an easy way to explain that. Some people call him a super, a chyron. But anyhow, we'll discuss those and other interesting terms and fun things about doing radio shows. It's a live Sunday afternoon here on the East Coast, and on the West Coast, it's slightly after 2 o'clock. And up in Canada, it's probably about the same time. You're in the Vancouver area. Look, he's always smirking at me.
I am.
It's like,
yeah, it's Pacific. I'm on Pacific.
You're looking for me to pick on you. Yeah.
What are we on? Pacific Daylight Time? But
yeah, that's something
anyway,
like that.
Good to be here, Mitch, for episode 93,
83.
But we're fast approaching 93. This is 83 of The Last Angry DJ. If this is your first time joining the show, thank you very much. The show broadcasts every Sunday at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern. And this is the show that intersects old media versus new media, but unlike Iron Chef, it's not about whose industry reigns supreme. It's about talking about the ongoing challenges that the world of broadcast is facing on a day-to-day basis. And when I say the world of broadcast, what am I talking about? I'm not just talking about torrential radio. I'm talking about podcasts. I'm talking about YouTubers, quote-unquote influencers.
Alex, you said torrential radio, not terrestrial radio.
Pretty sure I said terrestrial.
Can you play that back?
But, just correct me live on the show. That's all good, Mitch. That's
look,
much appreciated.
Your other name
not going to throw off my introduction at all. Anyways, moving past that, I'd like to introduce Mark Giuliani, who's an important member of our panel. How's it going, Mark?
For fuck's sakes, Mitch. I don't want to say anything. I'll get corrected. Hello, everyone. Alex, Mitch, how are you? It's great to see you again this week, and we are looking for questions. Please send your questions to ask.thelastangrydj.com. That's ask.thelastangrydj.com. We look forward to a great show. Mitch, kick it off.
Yeah, I'm wondering because I'm being encouraged to shave all of my hair off because they're tired of seeing me look like a bad hair day. So I think last time we were talking, Alex said, have you ever thought about getting rid of your golden locks, your silver locks? So if I were to do that, Alex, what would I use to buzz cut my head? Will a Flowbee do it? Is there a Waller that does that? Some kind of Waller?
You know what I think you should get? I think you should get one of those skull shavers. Have you seen that, Mitch? You see those ads on Instagram. You can get them on Amazon. It's a thing. It's got a really cool handle, and it's just battery operated. And you can go like this and shave your whole head very efficiently, and it works.
Is that the same thing you do to take the paint off your car?
You can shave in the shower as well. I'm thinking about buying one of those
with an extension cord in the shower. Thanks.
No. It's battery operated. All
right. I'm just looking forward to some type of Mitch Hill killed.
What do you think? Do you think I'm trying to kill you? You think I'm trying to kill my co-host on the show?
Bizarre hair accident in the shower. He tripped over his long silken hair. Isn't that great? Anyhow, it really irritates. Look at it, the pit bull.
Mark's got that on the screen there. I'm going to cut to it so you can see the skull shaver. It's a pretty cool product. Very cool product.
It looks like a bastardized Norelco shaver. The kind of...
Norelco.
Doesn't it? It looks like it's a mutant Norelco. Anyhow, we are here to talk about media and stuff like that. And what's interesting is we're closely approaching our 100th anniversary. 100 shows. We're up to number 83 today. And I guess we're going to hit 2 years worth of programs, in about another month? We're darn close to that. I guess you have to do the math. What is it? 52 weeks out of the year. We'll get the 100. We'll get the 100th before we get to our 2-year anniversary.
Yeah, I think we launched the show in May. Was it March or May? I can't remember. 2020.
I don't know. It's been so long, and my short-term memory is not what it. Did I say my short-term memory is not what it used to be? Okay, good. And anyhow, one of the neat things about these goalposts are people have asked who has the longest podcast in the world. One of the longest is our scrutiny of our next commentary is Adam Carolla. He has how many, Alex? It's up to like 4,000 something?
Yeah, he just celebrated his 4,000th episode. His first episode was published on February 23rd, 2009, a few days after his radio show on KLSX was, I almost said canceled. I don't know if that show was canceled, but it ended, and he started a podcast, and I guess he never looked back.
Have you noticed that podcasts generally happen to radio people in a desperate attempt to remain relevant, have to stay on some way, and the only thing that they can do, short of getting a radio station to pick them up, which doesn't happen these days, is to do a podcast. So, my hat's off, my hair's off to him for, remaining relevant for 4,000 shows. And I guess he's right up there with, who's the podcaster? They call him the Podmaster, not Adam Curry, is it?
Yep.
Their names are so darn close.
I think that's right, yeah. Adam Curry. And obviously Leo Laporte. I mean, you can't forget about him. I mean, the Twit Network has been around for 20 plus years. So they too have been around a long, long time. And in fact, it's really interesting because the word podcast, I remember back in the early days when I was listening to Twit, they didn't even use the word podcast. They were using the word netcasts, which actually many people thought it was a better name than podcast. But I guess podcast just kind of stuck because of the invention of the iPod with Apple and Apple's support for the podcast format with the RSS spec that was modified by Dave Weiner. If we didn't have Dave Weiner, we would have no podcast RSS feeds, not in the way that we have them now.
And Netcast, I think, is a copywritten name anyhow, so they couldn't have used that if they wanted to.
Well, they used
Remember
it for
Netcast?
a while.
It was a network protocol for like Ethernet. Netcast, I remember those guys, whoever they were. If Leo was here, he would tell us. I've invited Leo on the show, by the way, and Adam Carolla to come on the show. But Adam's too busy reaping the benefits of 4,000 shows. And, it's interesting. If he were here right now, what I would ask him would be, what were the good times and what were the bad times for podcasting? Because he's obviously been around long enough with 4,000 shows. That's how many years? How's 52 going to 4,000? Somebody with a quick mathematical mind. How many years has he been at it? Does he do one a week?
I don't have enough screens to calculate that right now.
See,
maybe Mark can do it.
Not enough screens. That's the story of our life now. Oh, I'm sorry. I can't tell you what 12 divided by 24 is, but maybe it's a fraction. I don't know. But anyhow, he has like a studio and everything and does quite a job of it. And I don't think he's doing as well as he did when he started out because podcasts in general, there are so many. And I guess advertisers now have to look at, well, it used to be easy. We'd go on X, Y, and Z. And now we have to decide out of millions of podcasts which one we're going to spend our money on. And then there's the statistics and information and metadata and cost per thousand and all the other stuff that advertising people use to determine the success or failure. I think the fact that he stayed on this long, obviously he's got a major commitment to doing podcasting. And I don't know what your next step is. I mean, how do you evolve it? I mean, how long has Joe Rogan been doing it, for example? He's one of the guys that, you think of. He's been doing it for how long? How many years? Any idea?
I think he's up there. I don't have the number just off the top of my head here. Let me see if I can. I'm going to have to figure this out live on the show.
Adam is the Mac Daddy of podcasts because 4,000 sounds like an awfully large number.
I'm going to ask ChatGPT. Let's see how accurate it is.
Yeah, it's only as good as the information that's already in there. So they could be faking it. But anyhow, so it's a challenge to monetize podcasting today. And I'll ask Alex, I'll start out by asking you, why is it a challenge today to be monetized where it wasn't as little as 2 years ago, let's say? Podcasting is hard to monetize.
It absolutely is. And I will answer that question, but let me answer the previous one. So Joe Rogan started his show back in 2009. So that's the same as Adam Carolla. So he's been at it for a very long time. And you're right. I mean, when you have 500,000 podcasts, I don't know what the current, last time I checked, which was a couple of years ago, there's something like 500,000 podcasts. Now, not all of those podcasts in the directory that exists at Apple are active shows, but there's quite a bit of active shows there. And so that's a lot of competition. And one of the things that I've observed too over the years, Mitch, is that when it's not just advertisers that now have to decide where they're going to put their money, but also you see a lot of celebrities, actors, and that those types of people, or anybody that has anything to promote, even authors, they, you'd have to typically do a press tour, right? So now it's not good enough to just go on a late night show. All these actors and celebrities have to go on their podcast rounds. They're going on Joe Rogan. They're going on Adam Carolla. They're going on Howard Stern, who's not on terrestrial, but he's on satellite, right? You got to pay for that. It's behind a paywall. So the whole landscape has really changed, and people really need to spend a lot more time promoting their content on all these different shows now. So it takes up also a lot more of their time, and they got to be picky about who has the biggest platform, and who has a platform that sort of aligns with my own beliefs.
Yeah, you might be right.
You may not want to go on just any show. Like a lot of people find Joe Rogan very divisive, and maybe that's not the best platform to be on. So I don't know. Is it?
It's interesting because we'll go with the showbiz people. When you put a movie out or a book out, let's say, they would do things called pressers. And it froze up there for a second. And the pressers were essentially what a podcast is. They used to use a satellite, and the actor would sit in a studio, and they would just connect up to TV stations around the country via that satellite connector. Now it's a whole lot easier. Anybody can do it. So the cost of ownership is a whole lot lower. I mean, I'll go to Mark for a second. Mark, you were around in the days when if you wanted to talk to somebody on the other side of the country or the world, you had to use a satellite. If you had guests on your show and they weren't in your studio, you had to use a satellite. I don't think satellites are doing that anymore. I mean, not to a large degree, because it's expensive to keep those things up there.
Well, I mean, we're still using satellites to pull in some of the national shows we get. But for the most part, if you're trying to send a satellite signal, that's, from what I understand, very expensive. And satellite time's still really expensive. So most people the internet's gotten fast enough where most people are sending their signals over the internet.
Sure. In the early 90s, I used to guest shot on, let's say I went to Disney Studios, MGM Studios, to do my morning radio show. It was satellite. And they had a beautiful studio. I think it's still there in the MGM part of the Disney park. And it was run by satellite. And it was, a big to-do, lots of people, limo rides, handlers, engineers, and all kinds of people were involved. In fact, they yelled at me for yelling on the air. They said, "You can't yell like that, Mitch, because your voice will bleed into, Good Morning America." Or something else. I just thought it was kind of funny. So, when you're dealing... Yeah, over a satellite. They said if I yelled, it would overmodulate the satellite. And of course, when I yell, man. I don't hold back. I go all the way. And they said I was going to bleed into some TV show that was being done.
Is that possible, or were they just trying to scare you? Because I didn't know you could do that. Technologically
you can overmodulate a transponder channel.
Sure.
You most certainly can do that. And chances are, because it's sort of like FM, it can interfere with a co-channel transponder. So if you're transponder number 4 and transponder number 6 has Good Morning America on it, or The View, if I started yelling, I would cause some kind of interference. I don't know if they'd actually hear me, but I just thought it was funny at the time, and I mentioned it on the air. And then it was funny because when I was talking, this is the thing about satellite, everything was so expensive back then that they had a Disney handler there monitoring everything that I said and did and what I talked about. And I wasn't allowed to say certain things about Disney. I wasn't allowed to describe, should I get into this? Is this entertaining enough? I guess it is. I wasn't allowed to describe.
It's actually relevant, Mitch, because look at what happened with Jimmy Kimmel's show, who's on ABC but hosted by Disney.
Great.
Tie it into that. Yeah, absolutely.
I wasn't allowed to talk about what happens at the park when the theme park isn't open. Something as simple as I was taking a picture of somebody when we were walking into the studio, which was before the park opened, when I was getting ready to do my morning show at 5:30 in the morning or whatever it was. And the handler came over and said, "Oh, no, can't take a picture." I'm like, "Why?" They were repotting a tree behind one of the people I was taking a picture with. It happened to be Mary Tyler Moore, who was going to a show. And, hey, Mary, come on, can I have a picture taken? And they're not allowed to show any construction or any of the workers, doing their thing. They have a whole city there dedicated to making it absolutely clinically clean at every park that they have. They still do. The whole Disney park, and we could make a whole subject on this. We should have.
Can you
we
blame
should do
them?
our show.
They're trying to, retain the magic of Disney. They don't want you to see behind the scenes of people's lives.
Yeah. I understand. I'm with them.
It's like the Magic Kingdom.
Exactly,
exactly.
Mark. It's the Magic Kingdom. Exactly.
They have a whole city there. Now, I'm talking about Disney World, not Disneyland. But when they built Disney World, the first floor is actually 4 floors below what you see when you're walking around Disney World. And everything below it is the city that services all of the, the exhibits, all the actors, all the people that work in they're called actors, or cast members. They walk through this little city. They got little people running around and trucks and all this stuff. So when the toucan dies or gets lockjaw in the Tiki Bird exhibit, they got to sneak somebody in there to fix the Tiki Bird, and that disappeared down a trapdoor. Something like that. But yeah, I had a good experience with it. I love the Disney people for that. Not for firing Jimmy Kimmel, suspending him temporarily or giving him some time off. So that's a whole different, can of beans we can go into. So anyhow, but that was back in the day when satellite was a big deal. Today, anybody can just decide, I'm going to do a podcast. I'm going to do a podcast with my pet mouse. And it's what my mouse does every day and what that mouse sees, and that's apparently a show. I have no time of the day for people that podcast or show selfies with them showing, here's what I had for dinner tonight, and they're showing pictures of their food. I'm really not interested in that. That's just not for me. So anyhow, I don't know if you guys are noticing, but I seem to be freezing and unfreezing. I'm looking at myself while I talk.
Good so far on my end.
If I see it happen again, I'll mention anything. So Adam Carolla, 4,000 shows. That's a lot. That's certainly a number to shoot for. All those big guys, continue to broadcast their programs. But I'd really, really love to be a fly on the wall and figure out how much less money are they making doing it. Because it's so much harder to have top of the mind awareness. How's Mr. Beast doing? Or how's Joe Rogan doing? Especially, he's sort of politically mingled with one party or the other, and people are so polarized now. It's interesting. So can you make money at it? Well, we're not making money at it. I mean, we're doing it because we like it, and our entire staff are, you can show it if you want to, Alex. Here's our entire staff that does the show right here. Here you're looking at him. Say hi, staff. Wave. Say hi. We don't have hundreds of people. We don't have satellite operators. We don't have handlers. People telling us, "Oh, you can't say that," or "Yeah, you got the finger pointing thing." Whatever you want to do. So the cost of entry to do a podcast is dirt cheap. Alex, you help people out to do podcasts. What's the reasonably priced? Video, lighting, and sound. What's it cost to do a podcast these days? Give us an idea.
Yeah, it depends on what your budget is. Everything from entry-level stuff to high-end stuff. For the most part, if you're just starting out, you don't have to spend a ton of money these days. You've got companies like the Insta360 Link cameras that are a couple $100 that have face tracking features, and they have decent image reproduction. And of course, you can now use your modern cell phones. The iPhone has a very, very good camera, which you can connect directly to your Mac, and you can use that as a webcam. There's all sorts of solutions now where you don't actually have to spend a ton of money. Mitch is showing his iPhone there, but there's a lot of us that are on this show use dedicated mirrorless cameras, of varying different sensor sizes from micro four thirds all the way up to full frame cameras like what Mitch has with the FX3, and I think Mark is on some kind of Black Magic camera.
No, he's on an FX3.
Oh, are you on an FX3 too? Okay, that explains why
I'm here in Alexandria.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Mark
yeah.
was listening when I
Manifestation
was
light.
recommending Sony cameras with that great autofocus. That's the one to get. Nowadays, I'd recommend the FX2 if you wanted that autofocus that's so good about Sony. The FX2 is cheaper and does pretty much the same thing that this FX3 is doing. So, yeah, you're right. There's a lot of cameras out there, and the problem is that everybody says their camera is the best in the world. You know, if you were to recommend, since we're talking about it briefly, Alex, what would be a low-end but good-looking camera to buy? An ObSpot, the 360, what, DJI? Where would you go for a cheap, low-end, but better than iPhone camera?
Okay, yeah, better than iPhone camera definitely wouldn't be the Insta360 Link. You'd be looking at something like a Sony ZVE Mark II, ZVE 10 Mark II to be exact. I think it's about $800 for the body, plus you got to buy the lens as well. So that will get you into a something that's close to a Super 35 sensor size. So you get that nice shallow depth of focus like what I got here behind me. And those cameras are a lot more affordable than an FX3 camera. So, you know, under $1,000 for the body. Oftentimes the lens is going to be more than what it's going to cost you to buy the body. So you might have to spend, $1,000 or $1,200 on the lens. Something like what we are doing right here. I just realized I was on the wrong camera. Sorry.
That's why I was trying to virtually punch you in.
Yeah, it's the problem with I've got too much to do here and I make mistakes. Anyways, one of the things when you're doing this type of show with a talking head, you probably want something like a 50 mil or equivalent to a 50 millimeter focal length. So I've got on my Micro Four Thirds camera, I have a 30 mil, which gets me reasonably
Like
close
45.
to. It's like it gets me reasonably close to that equivalent in a full frame camera sensor. So I get the current image that you're seeing is on a Sigma 30 millimeter lens on a Micro Four Thirds camera body. There's all sorts of ways that you can go, but again, if you're just starting out, if you've got an iPhone or you've got a relatively decent phone in the last couple of years, you can absolutely use that as a web camera. In fact, I was just helping a friend of the show, Gary Berkowitz, who came on a couple of times on our show, who uses an iPhone 16. And what he does is he's got a Windows computer and he uses an app called Camo Studio to connect to his PC with a USB cable. So he just connects that directly in. And Camo Studio allows you full control over all the specifications of the camera, so you can choose between the ultra wide or the wide lens, and you can change the exposure, and you can change all the parameters of the color and white balance and all that sort of stuff. So that is something that you can absolutely do without spending extra money, and then save some of that money, buy a good microphone, buy good lighting, learn how to frame yourself properly, learn how to use lighting properly, because lighting makes the biggest difference. I don't care how cheap your camera is. I can take a cheap camera and have great lighting and make a significant improvement on the way that person looks just by making tweaks to the lighting. Like even using an example with Gary too, he was relying a lot on his office lights, and I didn't realize he had a dimmer there, and we were able to turn down the dimmer so that he didn't get so much bleed of those overhead lights, giving him this kind of cast of orange light on his face. So there's a lot of stuff that you can do with just the design of the lighting that you already have in your room.
What's cool about what you're talking about is that the logistics of setting up a good camera and good camera technique is hundreds of years old. I mean, a three-point lighting's been around since Edison shot film. You have a primary light like I've got right here. You got a fill light in over here, which fills in this side of my face. And then I got a hair light, which is shooting whatever hair I have like there. That's, basic three-point lighting. And there's some things you can do, like Alex was saying, that can take, if you have the right tools, can take stuff and make it look better just by technique. And a lot of those techniques have been around for a very long time. One of the biggest mistakes that people make is where they set up their their image. Like they'll have like I'm staring into an outdoor window that's flooding me with, at this time of day, I don't know, like 5,000 Kelvin lighting, which is almost daylight. It's getting afternoon, so it's going to go more golden. And I've scrimmed it down to about 30 or 40%. There's things you can do to eliminate that so that this light can be seen more, and this light can be seen more, and this light has the bend, and I've got the standard background behind me. So all those things can be put together in the right way. And then one of the nice things that people are looking for is this bokeh effect that we talked about briefly. Is that with a decent camera and lens, and the lens can cost more, you're going to get that bokeh effect, which tends to not dim but blur the background a little bit, which adds a little more emphasis on the front. And if you can open up your camera and it has enough range, you can really emphasize that. I have it on just a little bit, but if I were to move back in my seat, I'll show you what happens. When you look at the on-air light, you'll notice that it'll get easier and clearer and cleaner. It's cutting down some of the bokeh because of the autofocus. And as I move back in again and get back into focus on my face, the Sony's doing that all for me. I don't want to deal with all that. I don't want to pull focus while I'm doing a Zoom or a show. So I leave it to the hardware to do that. Alex, you were showing something there to give us an example of.
Oh, I was just going to show. I just moved my other camera so you can see this too, and how much lighting makes a difference. But if I cut to this, so I've got this Amaran. This is a newer light that I got. This is an Amaran F22, and this is a 2x2, and I've got a diffusion. I've got the what's it called, not egg grate, but the
graded,
exactly.
It could be egg grate.
It's basically it's to minimize spill of the light, so I can really control the light. But you can see it's a fairly large. I used to have much smaller sources, and just having this much larger light has really, I find, gives me this nice soft, really really soft light that's very flattering, that wraps around. And it's not as sourcey.
I don't think you have the camera selected, by the way. I think you have it still on me.
Well, I can see. Oh, weird, because I'm seeing. Oh, hold on a second. Sorry.
Let it so you can see. I'm sorry I didn't bring it up sooner. There it is.
That's okay. I should have looked at what I was switched to, but anyways, that is the 2x2 Amaran F22 light that I've got in my studio. So I just find that it gives me a much nicer, softer light than the previous lights that I used to have. Because it just, like, when I say sourcey, you kind of get this kind of blotchy look on your face, you know what I mean? By lights that are much, much smaller. And you want that flattering light that kind of just wraps softly around you, which is very,
part of
very,
what we're saying is that spend some time to make your studio, your camera, and the assets that you've committed to it look good. And if you have to spend money, spend it where it can do the most good. 90% of the time, it's this little guy right here that's a bad quality or badly utilized. And I love the Shure product line. They've got everything from $200 to $300 to $1,000 if you want it, like an RE20. The mic that Mark is using, that's an RE20 Black Edition, and that's a very popular mic. I think that's sort of taking over the podcasting world as far as mics go. You're going to either
Mark,
see that
do you want
one
to talk
or
about
the Shure.
Do you want to talk about your lighting at all?
Can't hear you, buddy. He's faking.
No, I think
Mark,
he's actually
you're muted.
He's actually muted himself.
It's a great mic.
There it
You
is.
don't like it?
Okay, good.
Mark, do you want to talk about your lighting at all? What are you using for lighting in your studio?
I have a flashlight in front of me. It uses two Everreadys.
Okay, he's in sarcastic mode now.
Jeez.
What's wrong with Mark?
So
He's bored, man. He's not paying
very
attention.
much like Alex's, except I have the 1x2 Amaran in front of me.
Okay.
And then I have two 1 foot by 1 foot smaller lights off to my side, so that I am
Those are your fill lights.
wrapped in soft light.
Ooh, wrapped in.
Yeah, and you've got a bokeh going on behind you. You've got something behind you that's interesting.
Yeah,
but it's
24 by
slightly out of
70 lens.
focus. That's the style. You know, that's the way to do it. And we're all doing that. We're all using bokeh to add emphasis on the screen. So anyhow, this is stuff that, you know, it's subtle, granted, but because we're all children of the office hours school of broadcasting, we, apply more emphasis to things like cameras and lighting and microphones. And my bank account is sorry about that, but I use the FX3 because I like it, and it's what I bought 4 years ago. That camera's still relevant 4 years later. And as far as the lens goes, I'll be with this lens until I die. So I have a 20 to 70 millimeter, and it's cranked down to about 50 with a full frame sensor. It's about where it needs to be. It's about 3 feet away from me. It goes through a small teleprompter. So
and how open is the aperture on your lens, Mitch?
I have it closed pretty
fully
much.
Open?
Yeah, it's fully open. It's like, what, 1.7 makes sense?
And do you find that you need a neutral density filter there to get the exposure just right?
You know what? I think it's okay. I mean, I monkey with a little bit with like when I get a look that I think is good with a LUT.
Yeah.
This is using a thing called S-Cinetone, which is a Sony LUT that makes your face look good. I go over to my my main lighting rig up here. I got a 1x1 light panel Astra, which is a nice high quality light.
That's a nice one.
And I twist it just a little bit so that it's a little more tungsten, just to give me a tan where I don't have one. Because my skin doctor, Mike Rosenbluth, sorry, Mike, said Rosenbaum, I think that's it, said don't go out in the sun. So no more suntan for me.
Right.
It's too much. And by the way, one of my 3 things to watch out for, other than high fructose corn syrup and too loud your headphones, sunscreen. Because you may not notice it today, maybe you look nice with a suntan, but when you're my age, 20 years later, you're going to be having spots burned off your head. These are actual spots that are precancerous, and he takes this liquid nitrogen and squirts it on my head, and it hurts like a son of a bitch, but tends to work. So anyhow, so much for looking good and looking better. What's next up on our rundown here, Alex? You have something else we can talk about?
Yeah, there's a couple of things, some announcements here with YouTube. So YouTube has mentioned a couple of things here in a blog post that they've announced dynamic ads and something called shopping with AI. So let's go to the dynamic ads thing. I don't know if Mark wants to talk about ads in general, but it's interesting because they're saying dynamically inserted sponsorship messages will allow you to do something like remove the sponsorship when the deal is complete and then allow you to resell that slot to another brand or eventually sell the same slot to multiple brands in different markets, which I imagine would be incredibly useful to people. And then there's this whole shopping with this AI thing that they're going to be adding to the shopping function. So it's really interesting because when, influencers now have all these brand deals with companies, and when they're talking about products now in the YouTube interface, you also have to tag things properly, but it's effectively what they want to do is remove some of the manual labor involved and to use AI that will tag products. So effectively, it's going to encourage people to purchase those products that the creator is actually talking about on those videos. So those are 2 new things that are coming to YouTube. I'm not sure exactly when.
Sorry to interrupt.
But
is this when you're watching YouTube and they're talking about a product?
Yeah.
That it shows up on some of your regular searches, or it starts pushing ads for that same product?
Well, it'll be right there on the actual video. It'll say
How do they do that? Because all of a sudden, I'm having ads pushed to me about what happens when your pet pees on your rug, which I have a new pet, and he pees on my rug. How the hell do they know that? Do they have little cameras in here watching me? But I bought this stuff called My Pet Peed.
Well, that's all cookie data.
Yeah,
well, partly cookie, but
it goes across everything. It's not just on the computer I'm using. It shows up on computer over here and computer over there. You can see my
Mark, you got something?
Yeah, what's interesting about this is you take traditional radio broadcasting. Each radio station can reach whatever they're rated to reach by the license they're granted by the FCC. So if you're a 6,000 watt station, you can probably go into a 20-mile radius or 40-mile diameter of reach to all of the clients that you have. So what you would do in linear broadcasting or over the radio broadcasting, over the air broadcasting, is you would have a sales team. The sales team would work with your clients. They would work out a contract, how many times are the ads going to play, what days are they going to play. And those spots would then, once that contract's signed, you would do the production work. The production work would come from a traffic system, is what it's called in radio and probably TV as well. And then that would go into a system that's automated. And they just call it automation. There's all different kinds of companies that build those. And it's like a giant playlist. And it lays out minute by minute or 30-second spot by 30-second spot what's going on during the day. So to change that out is quite a bit of work. You got to go back to the contract, go back to traffic, go back to the automation system, and then those ads can be changed back and forth. When you're talking about something that's digital like YouTube, you now reach the whole world. So how do you focus an ad to a certain target audience? They've come up with a way to do that by geolocation. So you can now direct ads digitally by zip code. So you can target a product line. If I'm a small company selling mattresses and I'm in one state, I don't want to sell those mattresses 3 states over and have to drive a truck across 2 states to get there. So I want to geo-target my ads digitally to a certain specific location that I want to reach and do business in. So,
is that the same as geofencing?
Geofencing is a little bit different as I understand it. So geofencing would be if you're walking down a sidewalk and you go by a certain store, an ad might pop up for something the store is selling.
Man, it's like Blade Runner.
Whereas geo-targeting is your ads can be pointed to a specific zip code. So let's say, for instance, something Mitch would be aware of is you have a
hair
business,
products.
Yeah, you have a business in Delaware, and you're renting, doing weekly rentals. You may want to your target audience is not going to be Delaware because those people aren't going to be renting a house there for a week. You want to target probably Washington, D.C., Baltimore, Philadelphia, the larger areas. So now you as a real estate agent can go geo-target the zip codes in those bigger cities and run ads for those houses that you're trying to rent for that week.
Yeah, we used to use a thing called Scarborough back in the old days before the internet, and it allowed you to psychographically. They just had a big database that would say if you want to target your ads, here's where you go to reach the lowest cost per thousand to target. But nowadays it's way more sophisticated because we're all being tracked, all of us. Like if I mention hair products, like I just said a second ago, we all could use a little hair. Like, will grow hair. Is somebody transcribing this YouTube broadcast and indicating some kind of a point towards that? And will they push ads to me now for hair products? With my luck, it'll be a hair product that you for pet stains.
Not so much to you, but if the topic comes up on the show, YouTube is going to know that the product was mentioned or the subject matter was mentioned. They're going to know people are watching that show. So when they do their ads over the YouTube content, it might feature something to do with hair products.
Yeah, if they were monetized, but we're not monetized, so they can't. But they could interrupt. You watch YouTube and it interrupts every once in a while for a commercial.
Right.
I haven't noticed that so much with us. How much of that do we control, Alex? When I know that when I watch, what's his face? Rick Beato.
Beato.
Yeah, Beato. I'll get it right. One of these. Sorry, Rick. He interrupts every 5 minutes, something like that. And I know it's not pushing ads specific to my interest because it's like a dating service or whatever, stuff that I'm not going to buy.
Yeah, you don't really have a lot of control over that. But you don't have a lot of control over that, but you do have control over whether or not you are putting you can either choose to enroll in monetization with ads or not, and you can also decide whether or not do you want mid-roll ads or not. as well. So it all, because all that impacts your bottom line. Obviously, the more frequency there is in that entire span of whatever the length of the video is that those ads are coming on, the more that you are potentially going to be able to make money. The other thing, going back to the subject at hand with this announcement of dynamic ads, which I thought was really interesting, is the whole very, very tight connection between the brand, the company that is doing the ads with you, because it will allow you to share that data through YouTube Studio. Those brands will be able to see the results of those sponsorship deals they are building, which you can't. That's hard to compete with in terrestrial radio and terrestrial broadcasting, because you don't have that kind of deep, rich data collection that you do with the internet. And I'm curious, I don't know if anybody else, maybe either you, Mitch, or Mark, or anybody that is on the live chat right now, do you have any thoughts about this? Because obviously that is the way of the future, because we have access to all this rich data. And I can just see that radio stations will have a harder and harder time, and maybe they'll have to change their approach and sell things differently. I don't know what the solution is, but you don't have that kind of rich data that you do on the internet, right?
Yeah, but the data is still in question that comes from the internet. For instance, you can pay to have a subscription to YouTube and not get any of the commercials. So who knows whether so I mean, you can buy your way out of watching commercials on YouTube. The other thing is for other social media platforms, there's a lot of people just scrolling through and ads are going by and they're not even paying attention to them. So the question becomes, what's the return on investment for advertising digitally versus through broadcast? Where broadcast, the people watching broadcast are more used to watching a linear format. And especially if they're driving in a car, they're going to hear that commercial whether they want to or not. So their only option is to switch to another station. But it just so happens that all the stations are doing a commercial about the same time of the hour.
Yeah, and it's no secret that when you're watching news shows on terrestrial TV, that all the ads seem to be for pharmaceutical products or for insurance, because they know who's watching. Statistically, they have the data there, and they use that data to determine who they're selling the ads to. So if they're selling hair products or some kind of boner cream, it's because you're above a certain age. Yeah, that's right. Like Cialis or Viagra, that's boner cream. So anyhow, that's why they do what they do. Let's switch gears just a little bit here and go out to some of the questions that are rolling in. Mark, you want to help us help bail me out here before I get into too much more trouble?
Yeah, you are in so much trouble. Okay, John from Monterey, California. What do you think of the pick of the Super Bowl halftime show? Who's doing the Super Bowl show this year?
Taylor Swift? No. I don't know. Michael Jackson?
It's not.
Do any of us even watch football? I don't watch football.
I have no idea. I'm sorry, John. I do not know. So let's give John one more chance to ask a question that we might know. Give John one more question.
Wait a minute. It's Bad Bunny. Bad Bunny.
That's right. I've seen that. Not Big Bunny. Bad Bunny.
Not Bugs Bunny.
You know what Big Bunny is?
Bad Bunny.
Yeah, you don't use Big Bunny on your internet anymore. All right. Let's give John another roll here.
All right. John has another question, and that question is, where'd it go? Alex and Mark, what did you think of the Mimo Live with 16 guests running? What would you think of Last Angry DJ All Hands Show? So I'm going to turn it over to Alex since he organized the test bed we did earlier today with 16
Yeah, I'll bring everyone up to speed because I don't think Mitch knows about what happened. But this morning on office hours, we were talking about using Mimo Live to cut. Right now, we've been working for the last few months to build a template to switch from one platform that they were currently using to Mimo Live to cut that show. And what we're doing is we're using it as a test bed to see how close can the entire team get to replicating the look and feel of the morning show, but do it all inside of software on a machine on a Mac that is running in the cloud. Because right now that morning show is running on very, very expensive infrastructure. And so we're getting closer and closer, but one of the things that we want to do is see, could we get 16 sources from Zoom on this M4 Max processor, Max Studio that we just installed? Could it handle it? Can the computer's resources handle it? Turns out, well, it stresses the computer pretty hard, but it turns out it can do it. And really, it looks like based on that configuration, we may need to even go to the Ultra processor to get that done. I'm not sure about the other half of that question as it relates to the Last Angry DJ. I'm not sure I fully understand that, but that's what we've been working on with Mimo Live. It's very, very interesting because this stuff is really just determined. The only limitation really is the computer that you are running it on. And I know Mark has used Mimo Live. You have some thoughts about this, Mark? Did you watch this whole thing in after hours in that meeting this morning?
Yes, I was one of the attendees. And, Mimo Live is, what's very interesting about that is just a few years ago, you would have to bring all of this content in, like each computer would have a Zoom recipient, and then you'd use some SDI typically or NDI to bring all those into a switcher, and then that switcher would be able to cut the show. Now you can just use one computer program and do this all electronically through Zoom ISO and some other tools that allow you just one piece of equipment to gather all the content and then cut the show. So pretty interesting.
I think you'll find that the Mimo Live has a really good implementation to get those Zoom ISO videos. Probably better than VizRT did. Of all the ones.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with VizRT, but we use Mimo Live, and we can do 4 to 5 guests a show when we do our radio shows, and we stream them out. So, I mean, we've had great luck with it. It's worked really well for us.
Maybe John is thinking, why don't you do a Last Angry DJ where the guests are part of the Zoom audience? So can we stack up a few guests when they ask questions, put them actually on the screen? And what would be our limitation of doing that?
Yeah,
it scares the hell out of Alex.
Yeah, so I've tested on this machine here that is running the show, which is just a plain vanilla entry level. So I don't know what it retails for now, $699, $799. It's an M4 processor Mac Mini with 16 gigabytes RAM, and I can do 8 people reliably. Pull in 8 ISO Zoom participants inside of Mimo with graphics and live streaming to 4K to YouTube, and I can record a backup of the whole show, and I can do this all on a single computer, which is pretty mind-blowing. So to answer that, yes, we probably could bring in a few other people into the Zoom meeting itself if they wanted to sit and watch the show live. I'd like for us, I've mentioned this briefly, but I'd like for us to be able to have a phone number that people could call in and just by audio, just easily call into the show. And I'm actually working on setting that up. I've already set up the phone number, so I've got a Canadian and a U.S. phone number that you can dial into right now. I just haven't set up the machine to do it with the mix.
Operators are standing by.
Soon we will have operators standing by, and you'll be able to, just like a radio show, you'll be able to call in. I think it'll be pretty fun once we get it up and running.
Yeah, on the radio days when we had a request line, we generally recorded because it got to the point where either people were calling they'd yell at you something obscene and then hang up on you, or they go baba booey and then hang up on you, and it's like you don't want that going out live over the years.
Screening the calls.
Yeah, you have to screen the calls.
Is that are you volunteering yourself, Mark?
How can you do that and be on the show at the same time?
You can't.
Who do you think you are, Alex? You can't do that. It's way too much to worry about.
No,
but it's a cool thing. I agree with your effort, and let's give it a whirl. And if we find out that it was a huge mistake, then we'll just chalk it up to being a huge mistake. But lots of ways that people interact with us. We're not really getting a huge amount of reaction to Makana. I mean, we have it. We have the infrastructure. It's nice. But we don't have a huge number of concurrent listeners when we do our live show. So that works against us. I'm kind of, I'm kind of pushing for opening the chat up on YouTube. I don't think we can have both. So, in favor of the two, I would say Makana is a better beast to be using. And if we ever get so popular that we need some overflow, then maybe we'll consider that. But don't forget, you can also comment on YouTube at any time. You can do it right now. You can do it after the fact. It's not open during just the broadcast. And the other thing with Mukana is you don't have to wait till the show date and time to make your comments. You can go to ask.thelastangrydj.com anytime and put your question in there. So once you know who our guest is, you can ask those questions or just ask general questions at any time. And there is that QR code, which Alex will show you later on over his left shoulder, which he likes to point at. There it is. That's that QR code. Everybody's using them. We're using them too. And you know the best thing about our QR code? It doesn't have that stupid thing as scan this for more information. I hate that when people do that. It's just so friggin' obvious. So it's all good. All right, that's cool. I think we got both questions answered. John, you got a little double dip there because you completely stumped us with Big Bunny. I have no idea who Big Bunny is. I just know it's a familiar name, and I don't listen to Big Bunny.
Well, John has a follow-up question.
Oh, another. He's going to get a trifecta here?
The follow-up question is, you could use Stream Alive and use more than one chat platform.
Yeah, I've heard about Stream Alive before, and we've actually been encouraged to consider trying it. I'm going to leave that one to Alex because he's our master of all things technical.
How have I never heard of Stream Alive? I've never heard of this. How long have they been around for?
I'll do you one better.
Yeah.
We're going to get the head of Stream Alive to come on our show.
Oh, good.
We've been working on that. So
Okay.
let them come on and let them defend what it is. They're new. They're new to the game. But basically, it allows a chat to appear on all forms of social media simultaneously. So you could have chat going on Facebook, on YouTube, on all the others at the same time, and they're all interactive. And it ties them all together. I don't know, some kind of wonderful coding. So that's what Stream Alive will do.
But does it feed them into Mukana so that for production, you're going to one place to grab your question?
Answer is no,
Doubt
it does not.
Yeah.
But it does everything else. You know, because Mukana is not a typical animal for everybody either. But, you know, we're lucky enough to be using it thanks to our friends over at Office Hours. And you're lucky to be using it, Mark, on your radio station down in
we use it, and it really has changed radio. It makes it much more interactive because we get 20 or 30 people asking questions every day.
It beats the hell out of a request line where somebody yells at you, Baba Booey, when you answer the phone, you know.
Yes.
Hello, WGMD, Baba Booey. Okay, thank you. Thanks for your call. You know, that's all you get. So what are you going to do? Anything else on our lineup here that we can do, or are we moving on?
Those
to
are the main.
next segment?
Those are the main topics, Mitch. There's other stuff we can. If you want to talk about your beef of the week, we can absolutely move to that.
All right, let's do that. It's time for Mitch's Beef of the Week, brought to you by Arby's. They have the meats. And the Beef of the Week is where I complain about something that really irritates me. I'll just do one. And if you guys really twist my arm, I'll consider doing another one. And the one that really sticks out of my mind, and I've been beefing about this for a long time, is that playback devices, ones that play your MP3 things, whether it's an iPhone or an iPad or an iPod or whatever you have, a Roku, I don't know, whatever you happen to have. Their idea of a crossfade or a segue, is a crossfade. And that's not the way radio does plays one song to the next. If you ever listen to the radio and they play two songs in a row without any talking, let's say, it is not one song fading down and the next song fading up underneath it. It doesn't do it that way. You're not losing any part of the song. What's happening is over the long fade of the previous song, over the halfway through that down fade, the next song comes in at full volume, sort of like a crash and run. I think Joel Denver calls it that. And that's more of what I consider to be a radio segue. You don't lose any part of the song. It sounds natural. The continuity's cool, and you're on to the next race as soon as you hear the intro of the next song coming on. This crossfading stuff is just wimpy as hell. And I'll never forget when I first started hearing that on those iPods. I actually sent messages to Steve Jobs when he was alive that this is not what I consider to be a good segue. It's not a radio segue. where you do exactly what I just explained, is that the preceding song fades out and the song that comes on after comes in at full volume. It's crash and burn, if you will. All I got was some gibberish answer that we know better about what our research shows, that a crossfade or a segue or a song plays and then it goes all the way down to dead air and then the next song comes on, like on an album. Remember when you used to play an album? It had to rotate a few times. There was like a 1 or 2 second dead air. I just think they should keep things rolling. It doesn't have to be a matched beat like a DJ would do in a club, where you're matching the beats and you're just doing over the the breakdown, where you're doing the next song matching the beats and having it come on. That is kind of like a crossfade, and there are devices that'll do that. I'm talking about a good old-fashioned radio segue. We call it segue in the business, and I would love to see more of that. Nobody seems to understand it, so I'm trying at my very best to just say, this is my beef. Please consider doing it the way I just suggested. It's the way radio has done it for the last 100 years, when they're playing one song and then going into the next one. And I even think the automation systems do it that way. So, Alex, what do you have an opinion on that? Do you agree that a radio seg is different than a crossfade?
Yes.
Good answer.
That's my response.
Yes.
Okay, good answers. All right. That's why we have the best crew in the world. What a panel. They lift me up and move me
This is
forward.
why we're paid the big salary.
Exactly. And speaking
You're
of being
asking
paid,
a news talk guy about radio and music and radio and segue.
it's free radio. Someday you might have to deal with it. You never know, Mark. You're a radio magnet. You're a genius in the world of broadcasting in Rehoboth. So there you go. Someday you're going to have to deal with that. But anyhow, my other beef right now, and I'll just make it real quick because I don't want to make it political. Why the fuck can't they get their act together in the U.S. government and stop shutting down everything just because they can't agree on something and it becomes so overly political? I think that Warren Buffett has a great idea about the way we should compensate our House representatives out there. If they can't do their job and work things out, that's all they have to do, is to keep the government going instead of making it political and just saying, well, we can't agree on something, so we're going to shut it down in order to make an opinion. I know Mark is jumping up and down in his seat, ready to jump in here and have something to say about it. I think it's disgraceful that this large country we call the United States of America can't get their act together. I think it's happened like 11 times in recent history that our government is shut down because they couldn't make an agreement. And all the flow, all the checks, the mail, all the government services, the FCC. This would be the time to start a pirate radio, by the way, if you want to start a pirate radio station. The FCC is not working either. Mark, what's your opinion on this subject?
Well, I have to, let everybody know that my wife is a federal employee, so
Am I get her in trouble?
My views may be tinted. I think that what I feel is really bad about this whole thing is that they get paid, they get health care, but they can't get the budget done. So while the rest of the employees for the federal government, aren't getting paid, at least when the checks normally come, it messes up people's family budgets. So I think that they really need to get their act together and make sure the budget's done on time. And it just messes up a lot of things. It's messing up a lot of contracting issues that are going on. All the people that depend upon or provide the federal government with services are all affected by this. It's not just the employees. So it's the employees of the companies that are working with the government too. So
there's a lot of collateral damage.
Big mess. And I think the public has a right to expect more out of the people it's elected to send to Washington.
Oh, well, that wasn't the answer I was expected, but I didn't realize that now you're reduced to eating ramen noodles at the Giuliani household because your wife's salary is now nil because the government can't pay it. They're supposed to be out of this mess by Wednesday. That's what I hear. I don't know that for sure. So anyhow, it's just a shame. If you ever get a chance, look up Warren Buffett and his solution to balancing the budget and dealing with these nutcases in the House and the Senate, whatever, and what they should do. And I agree with Mark. They're too good to have Medicare or our health care program. They have their own that they don't pay for. They have their own pension plan. They have their own salary. They're the only organization probably in the country that's allowed to. And by the way, Alex, this is the U.S. government. I'm not talking about Canada. I can't. It's beef of the week. I like that. I like that graphic. Good one. Keep that. It's my beef of the week. Brought to you by Arby's. That they're able to vote their own raises. I think we need to take that over as we, the people. We need to tell our elected officials, get your act together. Do the right thing. Keep the government rolling. It's the one thing we expect you to do before all else. And if you can't do that job, you're fired. Or we're going to take away benefits. We're going to take away your benefits. We're going to take away your salary. We're going to take away your Medicare. Anyhow, I'm on a rant now. But you get the idea. The whole idea that the government's shutting down. And I think that we as people and people watching this, I don't care where you are in the country or the world for that matter, is that we shouldn't let this one go. We should stay on top of this one and constantly remind them that we, the people, are unhappy with that state of affairs when they can't get together. I don't care about their politics. This is not a Democratic or Republican or Libertarian or Independent, et cetera, et cetera. This is all about them not doing their job. Please do your job, or we should fire you. Yeah,
it's
exactly.
About performance.
About performance or doing what's expected of. If this happened anywhere else in the world or in our country, as far as that stuff goes, it's embarrassing. I mean, it's embarrassing to have a member of Canada here with us, and here I am explaining or trying to explain why the government has shut down here in the U.S. How often does Canada shut down? Does it shut down very often? Do they stop the flow of maple syrup and other valuable resources that you guys?
No, gotta keep that going. Gotta keep that going, eh? Yeah.
Yeah, keep it going. So it's
we run things 24/7 up here in the Great White North.
Yeah, those trees keep pumping that maple syrup. Don't stop. Don't stop. Okay, I don't want to sing and get us flagged for something. Okay, if you sing a song, can you get flagged?
No.
Is it that good? So
no, it has to be the actual song.
Yeah, but let's say I sang the actual song. Would it flag us?
I don't think so.
Okay, you're tempting me to try.
Not if you sang it.
That's the good answer. So those are my beefs of the week. I will continue to until we don't have a guest. Speaking of guests, Mark, why don't you give us a hint as to who's coming on board? So last minute booking, but we're very pleased to have them.
Hey, so we're really lucky to have someone who's been in radio for many years, has a syndicated radio show and TV show. His name is Rob Carson. He got his start in radio writing comedy for Rush Limbaugh. He then went into music radio, so he can relate to Mitch and being a DJ that spun records for a number of years. And now he has his own syndicated talk show on Newsmax Radio. Newsmax has a radio group too. And then once a week he has a show called What in the World with Rob Carson that airs, I think, on Sunday nights on Newsmax. So we get to have a live DJ in front of us who's now a news talk host who brings in guests from all over the country and gets to talk about politics, but he does it with comedy. So he's got his own unique style to doing it. And he's on the Talk of Delmarva from noon to 3 on 98.5.
And he's going to be doing it from the studio that's just
he's going to be doing it right down the hall
shoulder, right over there.
Right. Yes.
Oh, that's cool. So we'll have you both on next week. Rob Carson, did I get it correct?
Rob Carson, yes.
Yeah. Thank you, Rob, for joining us. It was just a whim. On a whim, we just figured we'd ask them to come in. We don't care about their politics. It's just they're people that use radio and media to communicate their message. So let's get them on. And let's get Adam Carolla on. It wouldn't be bad. I did ask Craig Shoemaker if he could drop the word, and the response I got from Craig was like one word. He said, "Who?" Like that. So I don't know. There might be something going on there with Craig and Adam Carolla. Who knows? These guys in Hollywood. What's going on? So Alex, in the meantime, how do people reach out and ask maybe Rob some questions that they may have up their sleeve?
Yeah, there's different ways that you can contact us. One of the best ways is to join our community on Discord. So if you scan the QR code that is hovering like magic over my left shoulder there, just pull out your cell phone, open the camera app, point it at your screen there, and that will allow you to get into our Discord community. We've got all sorts of different channels broken up into different topics where we can discuss movies, and you can discuss technology, and you can discuss The Last Angry DJ if you want. Maybe suggest us a guest or maybe a topic that you want to hear us discuss on a future episode. Please do that. You can also reach out to us on social media, and of course, you can support the show numerous ways. If you like the show that you're watching or listening to right now, one of the best ways is just click the subscribe button on YouTube there. And that will make sure that you get this show every week. We watch this show live. You can watch it live at 2 p.m. Pacific. That's 5 p.m. Eastern time. Of course, if you can't make it for the show live, this show also is released the day after, typically on Monday, as an audio podcast. And this podcast is available wherever you find your podcasts. We're available on Apple, TuneIn, Spotify, and Stitcher. We're all available on Pandora as well. And we're on iHeartRadio. And you can even ask your Amazon Alexa device or any smart device to play The Last Angry DJ, and we will be there in your ears the moment you do that. So thank you very much to all of you that are watching live on the show right now. You can also donate by going to patreon.com/TheLastAngryDJ. That's patreon.com/TheLastAngryDJ. Become a coffee supporter. That's what we call it, $2 a month US. Will support the show monetarily, and of course we appreciate it, and we also appreciate the people at Boink Software that allow us to use Mimo Live. That's the program we're using to produce this show. We wouldn't be able to do it at the level of quality that we're able to do in 4K right now without Mimo Live. So if you need a show, or if you need a production tool for your own show, you should really check out Mimo Live. It really does make a difference. Back to you.
And I would like to point out that before Mark comes in, that we will help you if you have a program that you're thinking of being a guest on the show. Alex is an expert, and he can help clean up your video and your audio and your lighting. So let him do for you what he does for us. And how could people reach out to you if they wanted to, Alex, to do that?
Best way is to just shoot me an email. You can email me, and the address is alex@hologramproductions.org. That's Alex, ALEX, at hologramproductions.org. Thanks, Mitch.
Thank you, Alex. Appreciate that. And a lot of people would be able to benefit from that. So we do get, probably the number one compliment we get is, how come you guys look so good? How come you're so polished? It's for all those reasons. We have great graphics. We have great talent here that make it happen. And it's just the three of us. Just the three of us that makes this show possible. So it's not like we have a giant room full of people slaving away on computers and pushing buttons and doing shit like that. So it's pretty fun. Mark, what did you learn about today's show? Anything interesting?
I learned that we look polished. I'm amazed. We look polished, and Alex has something going on the side where I think I might have to reach out to him to help me look even more polished.
Yeah, I'm interested in what kind of shirts you guys are wearing underneath there. Let's see a display of the shirts. Come on, show us up. All right, that's good. That's what, $50 Canadian?
$25 US. That was more than $50 Canadian. That was like $70 Canadian.
What kind of tariffs do they have on those? That's an office hour shirt he's got.
No tariffs. I snuck
no
down
tariffs,
I snuck down over the border and picked it up.
Yeah. They're catching people. I watched a show called The Catch a Smuggler, and they have them on that, what's that, America's Bridge in Detroit. And there are people coming from Canada with stuff. It's like
where do you watch this? What platform?
Let me hold on a second. I think it's on National Geographic, which is on Disney. By the way, I just canceled my Disney subscription. Alien Earth is over, so I'm done. And I'm still protesting what they did to Jimmy Kimmel, who is coming back. He is back. But I didn't like what they did or how they took care of that. So I'm canceling them on that basis. And frankly, I'm dumping Paramount, too, because they're not quite living up to my standards, as it were. So if you had to pick one of those services to cancel, which one would you dump? That's the question I had to you guys. Tell us on Wakana.
That's a tough one.
No,
I don't know if I could. I'd have to really think about that. I'd be curious what everybody watching the show thinks about that. But I don't watch a lot of stuff on Netflix. I'd probably say Netflix. If I had a gun in my head and I was forced to, I'd probably say Netflix. I use Paramount a lot, mainly because I love watching Star Trek reruns, and Paramount, owns the rights for Star Trek. So I'll watch the original series, Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, over and over and over and over and over again. They own the rights to Dexter. I'm rewatching the original Dexter show now. Dexter Resurrection, by the way, was fantastic.
Yes,
true to form.
good job with that,
Return
guys.
to form. Fantastic. I'm watching the new season of Tulsa King on Paramount, so I would find it really hard to cancel. You don't like Tulsa King?
No, it lost me after the first season. That was it.
Okay.
It was just great to see Sly, on a television show, and then it just got kind of boring. How many mobster jokes can you do, in 3 seasons?
Yeah,
Come on.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah, come on. Leave those folks alone. There's no such thing as a mob. Come on, clean it up.
Mitch, why don't we talk about our media picks?
Yeah, media picks. I did watch because it's streaming, and I was getting rid of it. Paramount, the Naked Gun. Anybody that saw the original Naked Gun, the Zucker Abrams with Leslie Nielsen, looking at Liam Neeson, and the latest version are going to be in for a huge disappointment. There we go. I'm overmodulating the satellite. It's horrible. It's just stinking horrible as a redux and as a redo of the Naked Gun with Liam Neeson in it. If I were him, I'd spend every dime I got for that to buy up every copy of it and burn it. Have a public burning in town square. Have people with pitchforks, flaming pitchforks, attack the headquarters. See, I'm saying something that might get me in trouble. I'm just thinking metaphorically. Should use their metaphoric pitchforks and attack the Paramount facilities because they made a mistake. It was so bad I canceled my subscription. I just saw it. I just couldn't deal with it. So once again, I'll reinforce my idea that anything that's a version 2 of something that was a hit is going to be destroyed by the weasels in the front office at the movie company that put out the original, because they just wanted their chance to be movie makers, and they're not. They're bean counters, and they're not very good at that either. Did I answer your question, Alex?
You did. I'm going to talk about, there's only one show I want to talk about right now. And for those that haven't seen Black Rabbit on Netflix, I would highly recommend you see Black Rabbit. It is a limited series. It is only 8 episodes of your time, but it is fantastic. And I actually got into it mainly because I was watching a behind the scenes of the production, because I'm very interested in cinematography and the set design and the sheer attention to detail on that design of that set, right down to the lighting and the way they built that. It is mind-blowing how beautiful the interior of the Black Rabbit restaurant is. It is just gorgeous to look at. And from a production, the story is actually fantastic too. I mean, you wouldn't want to watch it if the story wasn't good. So the story is very good. Jude Law is very compelling. I think Jason Bateman's probably the best I've seen him in quite a long time. And he's also, I think he's directing that show, or he
most definitely directed a lot of the episodes. Not all of them, but a lot of them.
Not all of them. Yeah. But anyways, Black Rabbit, that's my recommendation. I don't know if
I'll go with you on the lighting. Anything that looks like it was done with available light but wasn't, I'm a big fan of, because I think that's realistic. It helps tell the story. So I didn't see whatever special you saw, but I was looking at it and I was thinking, are they shooting with available light with a decent Sony camera? I don't know. I think they shot it with red, by the way, which is a Nikon product now. So there we go. So, Mark, anything on streaming media that get your attention other than free radio?
A radio guy about video? Come on.
He doesn't have time. He's trying to run radio stations here. Mark, you don't have time.
Come on, you can do it.
Come on, you don't watch any entertainment at all?
I don't watch anything fun.
He watches his own show. That's
watches his own show. Do you watch these shows back to see how you look when you're on camera?
No, that would be scary.
No, I do that. I take it downstairs into my big room, my man cave, on my big screen Sony, and I watch the show and listen to it. See, like last show, my head was way too low, so I was consciously trying to keep my head a little bit higher in this. Just keeping it real. Keeping it real. So thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to reach out and hit that subscribe button. We're up to what? 211. It looks like 211.
13.
213. We've gone up a few more. Thank you. Keep doing that, because the more we get of that, the more chances are we're going to remain around for a while. If you don't want us to be on, just send us money. That works really well. Oh, yeah, that thing. You ever get confused and you don't know which direction? Exactly. Ask.thelastangry.dj.com, just like Mark said. Appreciate Mark being here. You learned a lot of stuff. Alex, thank you for helping folks get their video to look better. And I'm going to call it a night. Next week, we have our guest is going to be Rob Carson. I had to look down just to make sure I didn't mispronounce it. As our guest, he'll be here. He's got his own show, and we're going to be interviewing him in fun ways. He may not agree with everything we have to say, but that's okay. We like that. We like some people with opposing points of view. So we'll have that covered very well. And thanks, Mark, for putting that together. Show number 83 is going to say goodnight, and we're looking forward to show number 84. And hey, by the way, think about what we're going to do for show number 100. We need a gag, something fun. Let's bring Adam Carolla on as our guest. Let's do something to celebrate and have some fun with. So whenever that happens, thanks so much. Be safe out there.